This is called One Spotlight, Two Directions, Three Skills. Now, it was Friday night, 2 nights ago, high as a kite, laying in bed. And what does one do but think about mindfulness and meditation skills? Now, before you dip out, because you're not interested in mindfulness and meditation, if you are interested in having any sort of peace or having a decent life, this video is for you. Now, one spotlight. What the hell does that mean? Right now, you're listening to some random dude. You're listening to him, you can hear me, see me, hello. That's what your attention is on. But if I said to take a deep breath and feel your lungs fully, you could do that too. And you could feel into your breath. Or if someone's talking to you, you listen and look up from the phone or your computer and look at what they're saying. My point is that the one spotlight means that your attention is always on something. Whatever it is, if you're driving a car, if you are going to the bathroom, if you're eating food, if you are working, whatever it is, you have attention somewhere. And that is what your spotlight is. Now, it's interesting that there was a study done and that 47% of people throughout their waking lives have their attention on somewhere else than what they're currently doing. And in mindfulness and meditation speak, you would say that's not being present, not being in the present moment. Their mind, their attention, their spotlight is off into their thoughts. And they're not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. I've meditated for 7 years, and this morning I did 20 minutes of meditation, and my mind went to random thoughts and not my breath at least 30 times. It is the nature of a human brain to constantly wander off and get distracted. So your spotlight, your source of attention, is like a pinball. It's constantly moving around, and half the time we're not even aware that we are constantly moving it around. Now, of course, the spotlight works two ways. When we talk about thoughts and being aware of our thoughts or being absorbed in our own mind, not knowing that we were lost in thinking, like if you're driving home, and you don't even know how you really got home because you were just so absorbed in your mind. Your attention was inward towards your head. They call that, in sciencey terms, interoception. So there's interoception and there's exteroception. Interoception is focusing on anything inwards, your emotions, your thoughts, bodily sensations, anything to do with your internal person. Now, as you can imagine, we can see outward. You can look at me, you can listen to me, you can walk forward and see what's in front of you. That is exteroception. One spotlight, two directions. Those are our two directions, internal and external. We can shine this light internally, which we often do without even knowing, and we can shine it externally to the world around us. And at all times, our spotlight is in either of one of those two directions, or maybe a combination of both. Maybe we're sitting in the car as we all drive to Applebee's, and you're thinking you're hungry and you got to take a dump to make room, and at the same time, you're listening to Aunt Marge ramble on about whatever's troubling her. Now, the spotlight, two directions. What's the third thing? The three skills. 1, 2, 3. Easy as ABC, but not really. The three skills are how to better handle our spotlight. The first we can call concentration or focus. How long we are able to keep our spotlight on one particular thing. For instance, on social media, we are constantly scrolling. Our attention is never on any one thing for more than 10 to 15 seconds. Bored, go to the next thing. Bored, go to the next thing. And we wonder why there's a prevalence of ADHD, of not being able to hold our attention onto anything. And if we're able to just sit and stare at a wall, or to meditate, to focus on our breath, to give our fullest attention onto a particular thing, we notice that we can hold our attention better, that we feel a little bit more peace, and it's because we're not bouncing around our spotlight constantly, and it's exhausting. If you're constantly having to move your attention around, you're constantly context switching. So the first skill is concentration, the ability to keep the spotlight on one thing, particularly the thing that you're doing, to stay present. Skill number 2 is either called awareness or clarity. This is the idea of being aware of what your spotlight is on. So when you're thinking in the car, and maybe you don't really know you're thinking until 5 minutes go by and that you've been lost in thought, the awareness skill is being aware of what that spotlight is on. Oh, I am thinking, and then going back to just driving or listening to music or whatever it is. Now, this is an extremely, probably the most important thing that I'm talking about. Out of 1, 2, 3, second skill of the 3 skills is probably the most important thing, because when you understand or do this enough, when you rep out the idea and see that you can be aware of your thoughts, that you can be aware of your emotions, aware of your sensations, aware that someone is talking, and just kind of knowing in the background. They call it metacognition, being aware that you're aware. If you can do that, you see that you are not your thoughts. You can just watch them and not have to entertain every single one. In the same way, if there was a 3-year-old on the ground and they were talking to us and just blah, 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 and we were to like look at everything they say, it was so serious, and have to answer them, not remembering that they're just being a 3-year-old and they're just chatting away. We can do that with our minds, with repetition, and learning to know what our spotlight is currently on. The third skill is acceptance or equanimity. Being okay with what our attention or spotlight is on. So many times we don't like what's happening in the present moment. We don't like how our boss is a dick to us. We don't like that we have to wait an hour and a half for our table at Applebee's. I don't know why I keep saying Applebee's. I hate Applebee's. Or a strong emotion that we don't like feeling. Maybe we have a big interview or a job thing coming up. Whatever it is, then we don't like, we don't want it to happen. I don't like to feel this way. I'm stressed out about it. We resist what is. And in those moments of resisting, and like we don't like that discomfort, our attention is on it. Our spotlight is on whatever that thing we don't like. And it's almost like we're just shaking the spotlight, bouncing around like an idiot, but it's like it's already happening. Our spotlight is shining on this thing. And what if we just gave it our attention, becoming aware, the second skill, of whatever this thing is, and just gave it space without needing to do anything about it? Because so often we resist what is happening in the present moment, like trying to move a brick wall. And it's just wasted effort, and we tire ourselves out with no result. 1, 2, 3. Our attention is always on something. There's 2 directions of that attention, inward or outward. And then the 3 skills of being able to handle or navigate your spotlight. Trying to keep your attention on whatever it is that you're doing, concentration. Being aware of what your spotlight is on, that's clarity or awareness. And 3, being okay and not throwing ourselves into a tizzy when we don't necessarily like what our spotlight is on. Being okay with what our spotlight is on. And if we want to change it, that's fine. But if it's currently happening, to shake around and to just, be resistant to it only hurts ourselves. And while I'm at 10 minutes and 30 seconds of a goofy video about some basic mindfulness skills, this concept quite literally makes up our entire lives. Our attention's always on something. And it's like, what are we focusing on? And are we aware of our mind's tendencies to go to certain things habitually? Sometimes people say, well, this is the way I am. This is the way I think. Not knowing that they have specific mental patterns that are that has them thinking this way. And that their attention is going to that thing, and they're feeding these habitual loops by placing their attention on it, and they're not aware. I think that's everything that needs to be said in this video. It's the most important thing in our lives, guys. Our entire lives are just where we place our attention. And what's so crazy is that if we moved our spotlight, if we moved it to maybe things that are better for us, because maybe there's blessings and things that are already here that we could be paying attention to more of. And maybe we might be paying too much attention to things that are negative or things that don't really serve us well. And maybe we just need to shine our spotlight on different things. But that's the beauty. That's the agency, the control, the power that we have, is that with these skills, we can get better handling of our attention and place it onto more positive things, to things that fill us up or make our lives feel more fulfilled rather than stressed and anxious. Thank you.